So, with everything that's going on with AI at the moment, I'm truly flabbergasted at how much everything is changing in the business landscape. I remember when I got my first computer. It was a tiny computer. That was the brand. Anyone in the UK will remember this computer. So yeah, it was a tiny computer. That was it. And I remember basically playing around with that computer. It was had a monitor, a tower, keyboard, mouse, the big monitors with the big back, those ones. And I remember playing with that computer so much. It was our first family computer, and it was really, really life-changing for me, because that's when I first found out about my love for computing. And I remember taking that computer apart, putting it back together multiple times, taking parts out, begging my mum to buy new parts and all these different things. And my point is that back then, when I had my first computer, it wasn't even my computer, but it was a family computer. Things were very different, and once technology got a bit better, I remember playing with stuff like Dreamweaver, Photoshop, all these things, software like that. And back then, the models used to be one-time purchase. And they were great pieces of software. And then fast forward many, many years, we have come into this age of subscription models, where everything is a subscription. Like, you just can't get away from a subscription at all. And I find it very, when that whole subscription model started to become a thing, I thought, actually, this is quite good, because now they're taking these very expensive pieces of software and making them affordable, because instead of paying one big chunk, you can now just pay on a monthly basis. And I thought it was actually a very good model. And I still think it is a good model to an extent. But I think now everything has gone to subscription-based. Everything is subscription-based. And I think it's a bit of a trick. Not that there's some sort of power out there trying to get everyone on subscription-based models, but I think it's something which can easily get out of hand, because it's very easy to sign up to many different things now, because you no longer have that high barrier to entry for using software or services or anything like that. Now you can just pay a few dollars or pounds a month and you can get what you want, pretty much. But all of that adds up. It all adds up. And eventually, you have to pay for it all, whether it's on your debit card, credit card, or whatever. But now with the advent of AI, if you think about it, it is still early on, but now with the development of AI, it's just so rapid at the moment, that I feel like the landscape is changing again for businesses like that were having subscription-based models. And this really clicked for me first when I saw two things. Number one, Codex, and then number two, Whoop. Now, I'll touch on both now. Codex, I was completely blown away by what you're able to build. That was when my eyes really opened up as to where everything is going with AI, because I don't really have a coding background. I remember building websites using HTML, very little CSS, and I remember trying to learn C and Python, but coding was never really my thing, to be honest. But with Codex, I've been able to build things so easily. One of the first things I built was the founderbuild website. So if you go to founderbuild.ai, and that's just a website which basically features tools made by founders, AI tools made by founders, and that took me about a week. Now, prior to that, it would have taken me, I wouldn't have done it, but I would have had to, Or maybe I'd have tried to use WordPress, but I would have had to hire a web developer or some sorts to help build this thing out. But for the price of my $20 subscription, and buying the domain, so that's what, 30 quid, about 70 quid or $70, whatever. I was able to have a fully functioning website, which is pretty decent. You can go and check it out. It's and that's when my eyes will really open up into, hang on, where can this go with Codex? Because Codex is not just a web development tool at all. It can make many different things. It can make websites, it can make apps and various tools, web-based, iPhone-based, probably even Android-based, to be honest, apps. And you don't need to have a coding background. And with business now, that's going to become a problem for businesses operating with a subscription model, I think. I might be wrong, but I think it will for some businesses. And the second bit which I want to touch on is Whoop. So some of you who are an X would have seen recently that a guy or a few guys managed to bypass Whoop subscription. So they've basically used Codex, I think it was, to create a Whoop app which allows you to have the Whoop device but not pay a subscription for it. And the Whoop subscription, I think, is $20 to $30 a month. It's not cheap for what it is. And I couldn't believe when I saw this. I was blown away that people actually made this. And this guy in particular, he made it in under 24 hours. And that's unreal. And when I thought about Codex, I think he actually used Codex. And when I thought about Codex, and I saw this with Whoop, what this guy had done with Whoop, it just really became clearer to me that businesses, not every business, but a lot of businesses, perhaps medium-sized, small and medium-sized businesses, will no longer be reliant on, sorry, a fly just went by my ear, will no longer be reliant on off-the-shelf solutions and will be at the mercy of many different subscriptions. There's no reason to be. There's no reason. In fact, you can now make your own apps very easily, and you don't have to use Codex. You can use Lovable, Claude Code, whatever it is. But you can make these things, okay, not very easily and glitch-free, but you can essentially make what you want, bespoke to your business, bespoke to your requirements, without having to get a lot of developers on board. That doesn't mean these things are going to be perfect. It doesn't mean they're going to run flawlessly. But it's going to be a heck of a lot cheaper for business owners to run businesses very efficiently. And I'll give you an example. So for my business, I've got two businesses. This business, which I offer, new business, which I offer, so my phone crashed. But what I was saying, I've got two businesses. This business, which I offer AI consulting for medium-sized businesses. But my main business is, at the moment, it's my main business. It's a surveying business. And in that business, I basically inspect buildings for defects, or whether you're going to refurbish a building, or there's, you're about to buy a building, I can help with the technical inspections for that. Now, that's all well and fine, but I have a subscription to a service which helps me to write my reports, basically provides all of my reports in a specific template, and I can put all of my stuff into text fields, and it produces the reports in a nice template, basically. I can clone the reports, etc., etc. Now, it's a good software, but when I saw the possibilities of Codex, and I've been playing with it for a long time now, and what people are doing, I no longer need that subscription, and that subscription costs me almost $200 a month for a single user license. But now I'll be in a position to essentially create the software around my own requirements, my own business requirements, and it will be for a fraction of the cost. And I don't have to pay for multi-user licenses. I don't have to pay for any bespoke features on that software, I can do it myself. And this is the way business is going. And this is what I think is going to happen with a lot of businesses. They're going to just end up developing their own software around what they need exactly. And instead of hiring a lot of developers, they might just hire one just to clean up the code, maybe to fix a few things, or they may do it themselves. I don't know. But if you are a business owner, this is something to really take stock of, that we are entering an age, at least I believe, where you don't need all of these subscriptions. You can consolidate them all using some AI model and build your own solutions, or pay someone to build your own solutions. So again, you might just have one developer who's just making bespoke AI solutions for your business. And that could be us, and that could be another company. But that's what's possible. And I wonder how all of these businesses operating subscription-based models are going to respond. I think, using the example of Whoop, they've updated their software. They've launched and updated their software, and I think they took down the alternative software, or maybe sent a letter for that developer to take it down. I don't know, but that can only happen for so long. And I'm not saying that everyone overnight is going to be developing their own solutions, but businesses will have their own bespoke solutions. You cannot fight it the way things are going. You just cannot fight it. Now, there's always the argument that larger companies will probably still have solutions which are developed by big software companies, or whatever the case is, the enterprise solutions. Of course, that will probably remain. But then you have to ask yourself the question, will employees just use that, or will they use their own tools on their own laptops? Which happens. You cannot fight that. So it's just a bit of food for thought, really. And I was just having to think about how everything might be going full circle. Maybe we will start having to buy software again, one-off fees, and maybe reduce subscription fees. I don't know, but it's just definitely something to think about if you are a business. The possibilities are there. You can have your own solutions. You don't have to pay through the roof. And for me, running my surveying business, this is going to save me well over $2,000 a year. And there are other subscriptions which I'll also be getting rid of, which probably, off the top of my head, might save me in total maybe $4,000 to $5,000 a year. You know, for me, being a single business owner, as in a sole business owner, with a VA and AI agents, that's a big cost. I can put that towards something else. So if you imagine, if you're a medium-sized business owner and you have multiple employees and you're paying for some subscription where each user needs a license, I think you need to have a look at that and have a think about whether that can be eliminated or be made more efficient. So look, let me know if this is something that you've come across. Let me know if this is something that you're thinking of doing, and let me know if it's something that you need help with. But I'm just generally interested to hear what your opinions are on this. It's a very interesting time, and it's true when they say history repeats itself. So let's see what happens. All right, cheers all.